The king of cakes. Chopper for the win.
G'day guys, welcome back to Cakes by Chopper. Today we have Flounder from The Little Mermaid. How cute is he? I'm actually really happy with how this cake turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to learn how to make him, stick around and let's go. So the first thing you're going to do is take your template from the Cakes by Chopper Facebook page and you're going to cut out these separate pieces. Now this cake I've reduced to being one pan. If you want to make a bigger flounder, then there's this alternative template that you can print off, which will give you a bigger one. It'll just be 2 pages and you just use more cake. But this is for your normal A4 sized baking tray. I'm not going to level my cake. If you level yours, you've got no problems. But if your cake isn't leveled, you want to make sure that the tail goes to the smaller end, how it dips down a little bit if your cake is a bit uneven. Always use enough vertical, go around the edges, keeping it straight. Otherwise you're going to have it slanted in and it'll be harder to ice later, or you'll just have to trim. So just keep that in mind whenever you're cutting out the pieces. With this smaller circle with the logo on it, I've cut out one piece, and because my cake is quite high, I'm going to cut that in half because we're going to use that for cheeks. What you should have is your 3 pieces stacked like this. Now we're going to start the carving process. You want to make sure this head piece goes back just a tiny bit, and then you're going to carve around the edges, just taking a little bit off at the side, because we want to make this a dome at the top. And I always just place the offcuts off to the side just so I can have something to grab later if I need to patch. I'm going to carve the front of his face down. Now where Flounder's cheeks are at the side, this is where we're going to stick them here. And we're actually going to need 3 of these because we're also going to place on a piece for his nose. For the cheek pieces, angle down because you only want it slightly raised. And for his nose, we are going to angle that down just a little bit because he's sort of got a little pouty upturned nose. Also, don't forget to go around the edge and round him down because he is a fish. He is going to have a little bit of shape towards the bottom. So we just carve out the littlest groove on the side there like that. Taking your ganache, secure your cake to the board. I'm going to place him in the middle. If you want to go for a nicer display, you can use some blue fondant and cover the board first and add a few little white decorations with paint. So I'm going to place that on about there. Fill the cake as always. Then I'm going to give a nice ganache crumb coat, which will help with the stability and also the shaping later on. Once you're happy with his first rough crumb coat, you can apply his cheeks and then place on his nose. Then you're going to go over them with the crumb coat as well. It might help to place your finger on the nose as you're applying the ganache, just till it gets a firm enough grip. Then you can continue coating. Some tips on what to look out for so it doesn't go all wrong. When you apply the ganache on his cheeks and his nose, just be aware of your finger spacing and see that it hasn't slidden down a little bit, because this will cause problems later on when you're covering it in fondant and trying to add the details. Once you're happy with your crumb coat and you've got it all sealed in, we'll pop it into the fridge to set for a bit, and then we'll come back and we'll do another layer to smooth it out and get the perfect shape that we're after. Okay, now he's out of the fridge. I'm going to go over with the second coat and smooth it out and make it the right shape. Once that layer is firmed up, we're going to just run over a last time, taking off any of the little pointed sections of ganache. Now you're happy with his final shape and you've got him smoothed out to as much as you can and the ridges put in, we're ready for the fondant. I pre-colored my fondant with the Sugar Arts Sunshine Yellow, which is gorgeous colors, cannot say enough good about them. Gently roll out our fondant so it's big enough to cover Flounder, and you need to make sure you go from the back right over to the front. So you're not just covering this width, you're going extra so it goes around and under. Now I'm going to start from the front because that is going to be the main focal point. Leave enough room to go back there, bring it over the top and down. Now I've gone a little bit too far forward so I can bring that up. Now we just start working that down, pushing all the air out, securing the fondant onto Flounder. Just gently caress out any little creases, any little folds. With your excess, I always leave a little lip when I carve down, and this is why these clay tools are amazing, because you can cut away the excess and leave a little bit extra, and then we're going to tuck it under. I'm leaving myself a little bit of playroom with the fondant as I take it away, because even though it's a lot closer, you can see it's going to fold in under, and then I'll use another tool to tuck that in a little bit closer. Now I'm going to go around the bottom here using my finger, making sure it's all the way down, and anywhere that's a little too thick I can just clamp it off. As you can see here, I went around the bottom and just trimmed off all the excess that was a little too much without going too far in. And you're probably thinking, Chopper, that looks all jagged and rigid. But watch this. We take our finger, gently push in and around. If that doesn't work, you can use the back of your tool here and just gently curse that in. Or if you're super confident, go through and use the tool that you cut with and angle it and drag around, and it's going to tuck it down nice and neat. You can use your finger, or you can get a makeup crease cutting brush. Make sure it's only used on food. I'm using my Tanya Hennessy brush. You can go around and just smooth in very gently. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you've got ganache coming out the side. I made sure it was very clean, and I'm also avoiding a spot where there's a little bit of chocolate visible. So I don't want to use the brush on that, because you'll just spread chocolate all over your fondant and you'll have a big mess, and we don't want that. As you've noticed on the template, there's some elongated ovals on the body. These need to be a little bit longer. I couldn't make them long on the template, but you can see the general shape, and it's up to you how you do these. I'm going to just hand do them because they need to go over the top and around the side of Flounder. And you only need 3 or 4, so I only need them that long, and they're gradually going to get smaller. Take off these jagged edges with my brush, which will just make you look a little bit more professional than you actually are. And you want to do that before it dries too much, because it'll start to crust on the edge. And the 4th one is going to be a little tail piece, so it's going to be quite thick. I'm just going to cut a semicircle that will hopefully go over the tail. Now with our edible glue, I'm going to just very, very gently, look which side I rolled on, and a little bit to the edges. It's only a very light bit because we don't want it to slide, we want it to stick when we put it on. Using what I call my magic brush, go around and just make sure that looks nice and smooth. For his main fin down the middle, we're going to take some dark blue and some light blue. Roll that out kind of thick, just like that. Try and get it smooth on both sides, because it's going to be seen from both angles. Then we're going to do the same with the blue. Roughly shape the piece I want. So if I look at the template, I'm going to go that way, cross, taper down, trying to keep that edge nice and neat, then straight across. And it sort of looks like a sail. You can see this shape here. That's what we're after. Then we're going to do the same with the blue, but you can use the top one as a template. Try and cut it nice and neat the first time. Clamp that and along the bottom. I know my hand just covered that, but you can see what I did. So now we have these 2 pieces. I'm going to measure here, cut, and then cut again. Now these 2 pieces should fit. If I cut there and then add that in, slight little bit of manipulation and push that in. Now you can see we've created that ridge. Once we've added in those 2 little blue sections, you can use your magic brush to smooth that down and then just shape it a little. He needs his little slits. When you're cutting these slits in, you can see there's a smaller one at the front and then some at the edge. Edible glue and follow the ridge down Flounder's back. Now as we place this on, we're going to gently push at the bottom, which is going to thicken out that little bit at the bottom. It's going to create the stability for you. Now I've gone a little too long here, so I'm just going to gently put my finger one side and clamp off that piece of fondant. To make his fins and tail, I'm going to put my fondant in a little square. Same with this one. The blue has to be a little bit thinner. And then I'm going to get my tool and cut that down the middle. Ever so slightly connect them with edible glue. And we're just going to push them together to get that nice line, making sure it's both the same on both sides. Then we'll cut in half. If we flatten this down, make that nice on both sides, you've created this two-tone split. And then when we roll out, we'll split that in half. It's thicker on one end and thinner on the other end. So we have now two pieces. And we're going to create his fin by just curving it off at the edge. I'm going to take these, pinch them in just a little bit, then use a circle cutter or a lid of some sort and just take out that piece with a little bit of edible glue, and it's going to stand up on its own. Making sure they're attached, situated. Get my magic brush, blend out those imperfections, neaten the edge up here. So there is one, same on this side. And there you have your little flounder fins, which I think you'd agree they look really cute. Now for his tail, same process, take the other half of what we had, then we're going to keep it thick on one edge. So roll from light blue to dark blue to light blue, but keep that a bit thicker. Now we're going to create this flicked up tail look by curving. Then we'll, from the bottom, curve up and then just flat. So we've created that shape. And if you see by the picture on the template where his tail curls up, that's what we're aiming to achieve. Apply a little bit of edible glue to this side and then put the flat side down, place his tail on, just tap it down and round it off a bit. I'm going to give it a little curve because that's going to make it look like he's in motion. With his mouth, I think I'm just going to paint it in, but for the eyes, measure on my template, and if I look at my reference picture, he's actually got quite large eyes. So I put that on there. I'm just going to test position where his eyes should be. And as you see here with the magic brush, I do have a little bit of liberty to move them and shape while it's on before I've actually stuck it on properly, so I can get the right shape of Flounder. Now his eyes are pretty much his only main feature, so I'm going to curve it up a little bit and then just use the brush. His eyes slightly higher on that side, which we've got. There we go, I'm quite happy with how that looks. All the reference photos I've looked at of Flounder, he has these light emerald green eyes. So I'm going to mix up this paint here. This is an edible food paint. You can just use green food dye. I'd water it down slightly to get the same color. And I'm going to be giving him this look where he's looking up and off to the side. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. Now for the black, I'm going to use my Click Twist brush. The black in this has a very thick consistency, so I really like to use this. If you're more confident using fondant to do this, by all means, go ahead. Just follow the same color scheme and make sure the sizing is right. I actually prefer the hand-painted look on it. At the end of the day, you've got to do what you're most comfortable with and you'll get a better cake. Okay, now I'm going to paint in his eyebrows. Now I'm going to mix up some more of my edible paints to do Flounder's mouth, which I figure if I do some of the red and the black together, I should get the burgundy tone I'm after. I'm going to make a pink for his tongue, and I'm just going to dab that on top. These angle brushes are great if you need to do some of this painting line work, using my black pen again, because you can get your hand in close and without actually having to be straight on. I'm going to go through with this same brush and line his eyes, breaking up a little ball of white to pop in, line up the top of his mouth. So there we go guys, there's Flounder from The Little Mermaid. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Tell me who you'd like to see next. And don't say Sebastian, because I'm not doing that crab. Yeah, if you want to check out some more cakes, stay tuned for after this. And also check out one of the cool YouTubers that I've chosen to feature on my channel. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.